Hello, welcome to the Strangers No More podcast show. I'm Jess.
And I'm H.
And today we're going to be telling you all about why we decided to start this podcast, what Strangers No More means to us, and what you can expect from future episodes.
That's right. So the whole show is about meeting strangers, just like myself and Jess. We were strangers of once upon a time, and we went on a trip together, which you guys are going to find out a little bit more in the detail in our episode 2, how we talk about how we met each other. And the idea behind this podcast, like Jess said, is about talking to strangers and people that we encounter during our travels.
There's a really lovely quote by W.B. Yeats that goes, "There are no strangers here, only friends you haven't met yet," which is kind of an inspiration behind our podcast and why we decided to call it Strangers No More. Myself and H, as you mentioned, met through travels, and this podcast is going to be all about the people that we meet in our travels, how we got to know them, and how we're no longer strangers to each other anymore.
So yeah, if you kind of interested a little bit in our podcast and would like to find out a little bit more, you can find us on YouTube if you're listening to this on YouTube or Spotify. And if you're looking for a little bit more short form kind of content, you can also follow us on Instagram at Strangers No More Show.
The setup of this podcast isn't going to be the same as your usual podcast. It's not going to be me and H talking every single week to each other. Instead, I might be talking to someone I met in my travels, a stranger that I think has an interesting story to tell, or H might be doing the same with someone that he's met in his life. I'm based in Australia at the minute, H is in the UK, so it brings a bit of a different dynamic to our podcast.
That's right. With myself being in the UK, I will be doing a lot of travels across Europe and here in the UK, from camping trips to city breaks in Europe. And I get to always meet strangers and travel with random strangers with future events that I'm planning, which we'll go a little bit more in detail in our episode 2, how I'm going to be traveling with random strangers going to festivals or just exploring different places around the world. So slightly different stuff than you're going to be expecting from my kind of videos to the ones you'll be seeing from Jess on this channel.
Yeah, so if this sounds like something you'd be interested in listening to, then give us a follow.
Yeah, make sure to give us a follow. So yeah, this was just a little quick introduction. So make sure you stay tuned for episode 2, which is going to come up right next, how we're actually going to how we met each other.
Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoy our next episode.